In honor of Remembrance Day, we are here to talk about a great man who dedicated his life for our country.
He is the brother of one of our favorite teachers, Mr. Fletcher, for agreeing to share your brother's story.
It's my pleasure.
What is your brother's name?
His name was Chris Fletcher, and he was born here in Guelph and then moved out to British Columbia when he was a teenager.
Brother's interest as a child?
He was really athletic and very good at sports, but hated school. He was a terrible student, couldn't stand school, couldn't get out of school fast enough, and so he ended up joining the military right out of high school as fast as he could.
Now, what engaged your brother to join the military?
I would say that basically it was that he didn't have any other options in terms of jobs, but he also really liked the fact that they worked as a team. And as I said, he was an athlete. He was really good at team sports, and for him, the military was sort of that continuation of that, where he was able to be a part of a team, be a part of something bigger.
When did he join and leave the military?
He joined the military in 1997 and left in 2009, I would guess.
So, what happened to your brother?
After leaving the military, he kind of floated around looking for a job that would be sort of as exciting as the military, but not as dangerous, and not doing the kinds of things that he had to do in the military. And he ended up working for a pulp and paper company in Nanaimo, British Columbia, called Harmac. And in March of this year, he was working around a pulp pile, which is basically wood chips, and the pile gave way, and he was buried underneath it in a workplace accident.
Assignments did he have in different countries?
His role in the military was as a sniper. So he was in Bosnia twice, Kosovo, and he did 3 tours in Afghanistan. But there were also, because of his position, a number of what they call undeclared tours, things that really aren't on Canadian books. I guess that's the best way.
Did he have in different countries?
Well, his role in the military was as a sniper, so he was his role was always the same no matter where he went. In Bosnia in particular, he was there to protect Canadian peacekeepers during our peacekeeping role there. And then I'm not entirely sure what he did in his other ones. His roles in terms of military action wasn't something that he talked about very often.
Did he have in Canada and for Canadians?
Because of his role as a sniper, he wasn't really assigned to things in Canada, but there was, after he died, a neighbor of his came over to tell us a story about Chris. She'd only met him one time, and that's what was so interesting about this. He had gotten up for work one morning. It was early, about 4 o'clock-ish, and I guess he was out on his back deck doing whatever, having a coffee, and had seen smoke coming out of his neighbor's backyard, so he thought it was a friend of his who was up having a campfire, backyard campfire, and he thought he'd go over and say hello. And as it turned out, it wasn't his friend's backyard, it was that neighbor's backyard, and when he looked over the fence, he noticed the smoke was coming out of a basement window. And so he walked around towards the front of the house and knocked on the door, and nobody got up, so he put his shoulder through it and went in and woke everybody up in the house. And it turns out that they'd had a fire in their basement, and he kind of got her and her 2 kids out of the house. What's most interesting about this, and this is what I think the Canadian military does so well, is he didn't tell anyone. You know, he didn't do it because he thought he'd be on the news. It wasn't because of he thought he'd get praise or accolades. He didn't tell anyone. His friends, nobody knew. The only person who knew was the woman whose house he went into, and you know, that's the kind of guy he was. That's the kind of people that we have in the Canadian military. It's complete, selfless, do for others kind of attitude, and that's what I like most about our military, is that we serve Canadians within Canada, not necessarily as an active military, but just in our actions.
How did you feel when he was called to an assignment?
Terrified, absolutely terrified every time. And I remember talking to him about his job in the military and why he continued doing it. It's dangerous. He's on the front edge of everything. And his response was really kind of odd. I remember him saying, he goes, well, it's because I'm something I'm good at. And he never took credit for being good at stuff, and he was really good at a lot of things, but he said, it's something I'm good at. And if not me, then who? And he always kind of thought that his role or his place in the military was taking the place of someone else. He kind of looked at it as though if he didn't do it, maybe I'd have to do it, or my kids would have to do it, or my friends' kids. And so he kind of looked at it as he was filling their spot in the military.
Now for the last and final question. How does the Canadian military help others, and why is it important?
Well, the Canadian military isn't just about a military force. It's not just about going in to, beat down a dictatorship or anything like that. It's also about supporting or helping after natural disasters or in other emergencies. You think about peacekeeping roles that we've had throughout the years, but also about, after the tsunami in Japan, after earthquakes in Haiti and Chile, the Canadian military were instrumental in helping to go in and help the injured, and also rebuild their infrastructure and teaching the local governing body how to bolster its police force and its own armies within. And so we do a lot more in terms of education for other countries as opposed to just stand up, fight, and do it this way.
Mr. Fletcher, for sharing this information with us. We are grateful that we have the Canadian military.
It is important to remember those who gave their lives for us.
We'd like everyone to watch the video of Mr. Fletcher's brother's memorial ceremony in silence. While you're watching the video, we would like you to think about all the Canadian military who have fought and are representing our country right now and keeping us all safe.
Fire! Number 2! Fire!
将那个
Number 3!
不停止放礼炮。